welcome back to my home. My name is Ashley. Today I am super excited to get back into seeds. It's been a little over a week since my first video that we talked about my garden planning and my seed planning for this year 2022. And so I've gotten 2 shipments of seeds in and I'm ready to dig in. I changed up where I was ordering my seeds from. I know I showed you the Burpee catalog and the Johnny's Select Seed catalog, but I shifted directions and I found that a lot of the seeds that I wanted to get from Burpee, I actually could get from the Jung Seed catalog, which is more of a local seed company for us here in Minnesota. They're based out of Wisconsin. That I was actually able to get a lot of the seeds that I wanted to get through Burpee instead through Jung, and also their prices were better. So I thought that was really helpful. My grandma always had to get specific seeds from her Jung Seed catalog every year. Straight 8 cucumbers, champion radish, scarlet nantes, carrot. She was very variety loyal regarding certain seeds. So that's actually how I first found out about that company. Another thing that I talked about in my first video was the 4 different categories that I'm going to use this year to look at my garden and to plant, and I used to plan my garden. So I'll link that video so you can go back and take a look at it if you want and see that in more detail. But real quick overview, my 4 categories are food we want to eat fresh, food we want to preserve, herbs, and then things that I'm growing just for the fun of it. So now that I have all my seeds, I've organized them by seed type. So even though some of these are going to be coming from different companies, I'm still going to go through all of the specific vegetables at one time. For my radish seed, I went with a variety from Jung, and I went with the French breakfast. These are a long sort of like finger type shape that grow, instead of more rounded, they're more of a cylinder. I think this is going to be really useful for my small backyard. I don't have a super huge garden space here at my house. As I go through and talk about each vegetable, I'm going to show you screenshots from the website of the companies that I purchased my seeds through. I am not affiliated with any of these seed companies in any way. I felt like this was perhaps the best way to show you photos of the vegetables while I'm talking about them. This type of radish is supposed to be crisp, tender, with a mild flavor. All right. The next vegetable is beets, and I went with a variety from Johnny's Seed catalog, and this one is a cylindra. So similar to the radish, it's going to be more of a long, tall shape instead of a more rounded, fat, round beet. This is supposed to be the best beet for canning. It tastes great, and it's easy to cut into really uniform slices that make it really easy for cooking and canning while reducing waste as much as possible. In that first video for seed planning, I talked about how a lot of Johnny's seeds can come as a pelleted form. And I did get my parsnips in pelleted form like I had talked about. And the other time that I purchased pelleted seed from Johnny's, they actually came in a container that was more airtight than just this simple package. However, I think because this is a smaller quantity, it still came in a paper package. If you get larger quantities, as Johnny does provide discounts for much bigger orders of seeds, so that small scale, large scale vegetable growing operations can purchase through them, you will get them in different containers and ultimately, big round buckets if you're getting millions of seeds. So I just want to show you what these pelleted seeds look like. And they are organic seeds, and so all of the coating for the pellet is, of course, compliant. It's just like this. It's just sort of protected. It's a little bead, and you just plop this in the ground just like you would the seed. There's nothing special needed. It just helps. It helps. I have found that it helps with germination. The variety of parsnips that I went with is called Albion. This variety of parsnip is supposed to be a lot whiter than some of the others. Sometimes parsnips tend to turn a little bit more brownish, and these stay really nice and white. They have long tapered roots similar to a carrot. They're very creamy with a slight spicy sweet flavor. Parsnips take a really long time to grow, so I'm going to have to be patient, and I have not successfully grown parsnips. I've grown parsnips before, but they were very, very small and spindly. So I'm hoping that I can give these a good shot this year and give them a try. It says 120 days, which is a really long time, especially for our growing zone. And so one of the things they talk about on the back of this package, and this is the same thing goes for a lot of carrots, is that if they are in the ground after it freezes, the flavor changes a lot. It becomes a lot sweeter and a lot more of a robust flavor. It brings out the best in the variety. The next one I want to talk about is the carrots. Now, I know that in the last video I talked about how I found this specific seed that I really liked through the Johnny Select seed catalog, and they no longer sell that seed, but I found a close one. The close one, the original was called a Nelson carrot. The second one that I found that was close was called Bolero, and they do still have that if you're interested in finding just a regular orange carrot that grows it's just a great carrot. It's a Nantes style, and so it's more rounded on the end, on the bottom, as opposed to more of like a classic carrot look. This one's, the Nantes more have a rounded shape. Now, I actually didn't even go with the Bolero. I had it in my cart, and then I got thinking, I'm like, I have had purple carrots in the last year on multiple occasions, and I'm always blown away by their flavor, and we all like them in our house. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna completely jump ship on the orange carrots this year. I'm not gonna grow any. I'm gonna go all in for orange and purple hues of carrot. So I got 3 different kinds. The first one is called Ruby Pack.
Ruby Pack carrots have a crisp texture and a rich flavor.
The second is called Dragon.
Dragon carrots have this pink-purple exterior, but when sliced, reveals a contrasting orange color. I just think they're so pretty. Because of the purple, these carrots also have more of the antioxidant lycopene.
And the third is Deep Purple.
The deep purple of these carrots, rightly named, will fade if they are cooked. However, if you are eating these fresh, they will maintain this beautiful color.
If you saw my broth canning video that just came out, I make 2 batches of broth through the Instant Pot, and one is much more of like a mild milky look, and I got inspired to use carrots in my next batch, and when I merged the two, the flavor was just this beautiful amber, almost looked like honey in the jars. And it's largely from those carrots, including that purple carrot. So it added beautiful color and flavor to the broth. I chose to not get pelleted seed for my carrots. For my parsnips, like I said, I did, but for the carrots, I just skipped it this year. I think as long as you're really careful to keep your soil moisture even when carrots are germinating, because they're such a fine seed, that's the most important thing. They do take a little bit longer than most vegetables to germinate. A thin layer of sawdust is what my grandma and grandpa always do, and that works out really well. The next vegetable I'll talk about is what I got for peas, and this is a huge bag. My box was so heavy coming from Johnny's, and I had totally forgot that I got such a large quantity. The thing with their seeds is that you can get just like a package, which is usually somewhere in the $5 or so range. But then if you jump up to their next increment, which is a seed number, so 500 seeds, 1,000 seeds, whatever it might be for that vegetable, the per seed cost is a lot lower. And I've done that before with carrots and things that I know I'm going to be planting a lot of, and I did that this year with peas. I thought that this would be a good year to go heavier in on the peas. So this is a pound of pea seed, and there is almost 1,500 seeds in here. It says seeds per pound, 1,446. So it's a very large container. I know we're not going to plant all of this year. When I'm done planting, I'm going to transfer the seeds over to a jar with a lid to keep them airtight, and I'll choose a jar size that best matches the amount of pea seeds that I have. That'll reduce the amount of oxygen that is getting to the seeds and helps them preserve their germination rate.
The variety of peas I went with this year is called Maxi Gold. I wanted to go with a tried and true variety, and this is according to Johnny's. They say these peas have the best flavor and have nice long pods with 7 to 8 peas per pod.
One thing that I also really like about the Johnny's seed is they actually have the germin rate listed directly on the package and when it was tested. So in this case, for the peas, the germination rate is 97%, and it was tested in August of 21. And I have that on all the different packages. So it's interesting to see the different germination rates. The parsnips, for example, 67%. So that's quite a bit lower. And that also might be part of why I've had a trickier time in the past growing parsnips. They're just a little bit more finicky. Okay, the next thing I will talk about is the greens. I know in the planning video I said that I will definitely be getting some greens, and I wasn't sure which combination of lettuce, chard, and kale. I did decide to go with 2 different lettuces in addition to the beets, because we can of course eat the beet greens off of the top of the beets and they will continue to grow up, and that should not affect the harvest of the actual beet. But I went with 2 different lettuces. One is a red romaine. It's just a loose leaf lettuce that you can just trim and it just keeps coming back. These are really, really good. I love that deep red color, and I feel like all of that color adds a lot of extra nutrition in the food.
The red leaf variety I have is called Taboo, and it is also versatile in that you can pick the baby leaves or leave them and allow to develop into full-size heads. I really love that this variety doesn't have any bitterness.
The other variety of lettuce I got was another red, and it's a butterhead bib lettuce. And so this one will create more of a head, and the bottom of it is more green, and then it's reddish on the top.
This variety is called Edox. I think having this type that is intended to grow as a full developed head will pair nicely with the other variety that I can trim and we can start eating much sooner. Again, this one doesn't have any bitterness, which is really appealing to me. In the past, I've had garden lettuces that get bitter if they're not picked quickly enough.
The next seed I'm going to do my squash and pumpkin together. The pumpkin seeds that I got for jack-o'-lanterns is one that's called an autumn gold bush, and it's a hybrid seed. These they don't look quite as richly orange as like a classic pumpkin, but I thought that it looked kind of fun.
One of the things that was really appealing to me about this pumpkin is it has a shorter than average growing time. At only 70 to 75 days, it should grow really nicely in our zone. It's also a great space-saving variety, which will help us out a lot. If we have more than we want to carve, these are supposed to be great for baking as well.
And then for the pie pumpkins, I went with the variety Cinnamon Girl, and I have grown this variety before, and it has been successful for me. So I thought that that would be a good one to go with.
These are supposed to be one of the absolute best varieties of pumpkin for eating, and they're just so cute.
And then, I know I mentioned this in the other video, I was planning to go with the Buttercup Squash, and that is what I did.
This buttercup variety is technically called Bonbon, and just like with the pipe pumpkin we will be growing, these are supposed to have just some of the best flavor.
For the herbs, no, you know what, let's do cucumbers. This is kind of fun. So, I kind of went crazy with the pea seeds this year, and I also went crazy with the cucumber seeds. But I got a lot of different kinds of cucumbers. From the Jung Seed, I went with a straight 8. Thank you, Grandma.
Straight 8s are a tried and true seed. They're great for slicing, pickling, salads. This was the only cucumber my grandma ever grew and always used them when she made pickles, which of course were the best pickles ever. These do get to be 6 to 8 inches long, so if you want to use them for pickling, you need to make sure that you get them off the vine when they are on the smaller side, and this will also result in the skin being more tender.
I got 2 different varieties from Johnny's. I went and got in one that's called an Adam Gherkin.
I feel like you can tell by looking at these that they have a slightly more delicate skin, and they have a lot more of the tiny spines than most cucumbers that I've ever seen or even grown. These will probably be best suited for fresh eating, but I'll definitely try pickling a few too to see how they turn out.
And then one that is just a slicing cucumber called Diva.
Now these cucumbers are a seedless variety and they have a crisp, sweet flavor. They also have a very smooth and tender skin.
Now, when I got my Jung Seed order, it came with 2 trial packs, so free seeds basically. And when I purchased my order, I had no idea that I was going to get these. This sometimes happens with seed companies. They'll just throw them in, whether they're trial packets or just free seeds if you buy a certain amount or whatever. Sometimes it's lettuce and things like that. But this year, what did I get? But another cucumber. And yes, I'm going to plant it. This one is called an Armenian Pale Green. And it's one of the only 2 packages that I have that has a photo. So that's what they kind of look like. They're very funky looking, but it says attractive when cut into slices, thin skin that is easily digested, the pale green ribbed fruits having mild sweet flavor and are at their prime when picked when they're 12 to 18 inches long, which is really long. I wonder if that's more like an English cucumber. That's about as long as they are. Trellising is recommended if straight fruits are desired. So I think Yes, so they would probably curve if they were not hanging down. So that's going to be really fun, and I'm super excited to see how these all turn out, because I usually grow cucumbers, but I usually just buy one variety every year, whether it's I've done straight eights before, or I'll just do like a pickling cucumber or whatever. But I specifically got some that I think are going to bring a little diversity to the types of cucumbers that we're eating. Now for the herbs, I went and I got from Johnny's Select Seeds, I got a Genovese basil, which is just a very classic basil. From Jung, I got the other ones from Jung. So the parsley, it's just a flat leaf as opposed to the curl leaf. I got a Greek oregano and then a Long Island mammoth dill. The last group of seeds that I got was flowers, which of course are in my for the fun of it category. I changed the flowers around a little bit that I was thinking about getting. I let each of my kids pick out a variety, and then I picked out 2 that I wanted to grow. I was really thinking that I would buy some calendula, because then I could steep it in some oil and use that to make some salve. But for some reason, I completely forgot to order it. But when my Jung Seeds came, what was there but a trial packet of calendula? How perfect is that? So I'm going to be growing calendula after all. And then as far as these flowers go, I am not entirely sure how to pronounce all of these, so I'm probably going to totally butcher them. 2 different colosias, one that is a chef mix and one that's a bright pink. A Centuria choice mix. Phlox art shades mix. And then Cat's formula mix. I think that no matter where you get your seeds, there's a lot of really great options out there. All of these Jung Seed packages say that it's a GMO-free company, if that is something that's important to you. Johnny Select Seeds, they have so many organic varieties, and they really do a great job in that respect. So the last thing I want to talk about quick is where I'm at with my transplants, because these are things that I will get from our local greenhouses. There's 2 different places that I actually like to get my transplants from, depending on what I find. I'm going to get from our local greenhouses my tomato transplants, both a Roma variety and a Slicer variety, celery, and then broccoli as well as started plants. I'm going to get seed potatoes, onion sets. I'm going to try growing shallots this year, and then of course sweet potatoes. And I mentioned this in my last video when I was talking about my planning process. I grew sweet potatoes for the first time last year, and they did not grow very well. I don't think they had enough time to develop. They were more like roots instead of developed sweet potatoes. So I'm going to be starting my sweet potatoes in about the 2nd or 3rd week in March. I'll get those and get them started so that they have enough time to develop their slips, and I can then plant those in the ground. I would love to hear what you're growing this year. Would love to hear about your garden space, whether it's small or big or containers or whatever it is. I would love to hear about it. If you have any suggestions on any of these varieties that I've chosen for this year, I would love to hear about it as well. While I've been gardening for a long time, especially alongside like my grandma, I still am learning something every year. There are things that do well, things that don't do well. There's still things that I'm learning every year, and I love to get better at things, and I love to find new ways to preserve food. So if you have any suggestions in that regard as well, I would love to hear about it. This is my 2nd video dedicated to my 2022 garden, and I know I've been giving a few videos of some food preservation and things of that nature. There's a lot of food preservation things that you can do when it's not summer. Things get really busy when the food is coming in from the garden, and there's a lot of things to be canning. The mustard and the broth canning that I've recently gone through with you, those are the kinds of things that can be canned any time of year, which is great. I'm going to continue working on things in the kitchen, and if there's anything in particular you're interested in or would like to see, please let me know. I'm going to continue working on my grain projects. I have some other canning things coming up and lots of scratch cooking. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to come along the gardening journey with me or see more of what comes out of my kitchen, please consider subscribing. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.